Pretty good?
Yes, there is a problem, and my biggest critiques of him are his footwork isn't the best, and that's why he didn't grade as well at the combine. Like when someone's in the middle of a slant or a fake route, or say they run an out and up, he bites on those a lot. He doesn't recover initially well, but his efforts there. If he's beat on a route, he doesn't give up. He hustles, he gets back into it, and he'll fight and he'll find the ball. Like there's several times he's dove and he'll get his hand right on the ball, and it's amazing. And that's one thing I'm like, that's impressive. So that's where he needs to improve that. And sometimes I think he gets a little too greedy with how he uses his eyes. Often, so there's a term calling having your eyes on the quarterback. When you're a cornerback, you're supposed to be watching your receiver most of the time. You're supposed to pay attention to them, watch their route, and feel out when the ball's coming. Some cornerbacks, they want the pick, so they will stare at the quarterback instead of the receiver, and they'll sort of feel where the receiver is with their peripherals. But then you're more susceptible to getting beat by those fake routes. That's what happened to him a lot. So I see that. Those are the two things that Tom Bradley has to work with him on: his footwork, recovering immediately from people's cuts, and keeping his eyes in the right spots. Both are very coachable things.
But either way, it's an upgrade.
Yes, absolute upgrade. Which Cody Sensabaugh was a serviceable journeyman cornerback that stepped up when the Steelers needed him, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. A lot of people thought he shouldn't even been in the NFL.
It's not like he was getting burnt in every play or
something
like that, like Artie Burns. So that was a really nice thing that they addressed the cornerback big need. They also addressed wide receiver.
Yes,
Dante Moncrief. I remember you were on the Final Word, and everybody's saying Golden Tate, let's get Golden Tate.
No.
And you're like, no, that's not, and that's I keep hearing it's like we don't need that.
Yeah,
and then he signed one of those stupid deals with the Giants.
Giants, who I don't know what they're doing right now.
I have a theory. It's the Skrulls. They've been
taking the Skrulls. This is going to be the MCU.
Yeah. The GM is a Skrull.
Yo, if he was a Skrull though. Oh man, that would be. But it makes sense because why do you trade away Odell Beckham Jr.? You still have Eli Manning, and there's so many frustrations I have with the team.
I don't understand what they're doing. I don't understand. Yeah, I heard they might not even do anything with quarterback because I guess the big thing is they'll get Haskins, but they might not.
The only theory I have is that they are legit. They're tanking to tank more. They're going to get some defensive players. They're going to try and line up some all-stars. But they're tanking so that in the future they can either get Tua from Alabama or Trevor Lawrence from Clemson.
I heard the Dolphins are also doing that.
Right.
Tank for Tua.
Tank for one of these superstar quarterbacks that's coming out.
There was a meme. It was Avengers. It was that scene in the last Avengers movie where Thanos, the little girl says to Thanos, "Did you keep?" She says, "Did you keep Eli?" And he said yes. And she said, "What did it cost?" Everything. Who knows? Who knows what they're doing? Let's trade OBJ and replace him with Golden Tate. So, who knows? Anyway, so what do you think of Dante Moncrief? Is he? Because they need that burner. They need a speed guy. Is that him?
So here's the thing, Dante Moncrief. I remember studying him out of Ole Miss. I think he was a 3rd round pick for the Colts. He very much reminded me in college of Mike Wallace. Both Ole Miss players, both decently sized and speed burners that don't have great routes but can make big plays. When he was with the Colts, he had a 600-yard season where he also had 7 touchdowns. He can beat you, but the problem is his hands are wildly inconsistent.
Oh boy.
He will drop some easy passes, which is why I still think wide receiver is in play for the Steelers in the top 4 rounds.
Okay.
I honestly expect what's going to happen, and this is just off of the way, unless something happens. If they trade, there's some talks that they should trade for Darren Lee from the Jets, their inside linebacker.
Yeah.
But if they don't make any move to address inside linebacker, I see them trading up in the 1st round to get one of the Devons, Devin White or Devin Bush.
They absolutely
They cannot afford to let that slip by and just be like, oh, maybe we'll draft Mack Wilson. And Mack Wilson's good. I would like Mack Wilson as a linebacker on my team. But I'm just... if I'm the Steelers, I'm ensuring I get one of those top two
Because
guys.
it kind of wrecked them last year that they didn't get one of those good linebackers last year in the draft.
And if they make that stab, maybe they get Leighton Vander Esch. And if Leighton Vander Esch, the way he played for the Cowboys, that would have been a huge boost for the Steelers.
Yeah. So I've heard them say, but get Darren Lee, but didn't he have a drug suspension or something like that?
He did have he used steroids. Yeah.
Do you think that kind of disqualifies him just because it seems like the Steelers want to avoid all drama or anybody with a questionable character at all? Do you think that they wouldn't even consider that now, anybody like that because of what happened with
I think that they wouldn't automatically throw them out. I do think that they would more cautiously question that person. I think that they're going to end up being like, hey,
what's the deal?
Yeah, we are not dealing with this anymore. You need to let us know what is up. And then even if they do say, hey, we're okay, even if he says I'm okay, they're still taking that into consideration. They're like, all right, what can we gamble on right now? Because here's the other thing is that with the departure of LJ Fort, that puts them in a situation that even if they do get their top linebacker, they have no other cover linebackers.
Yeah.
They need to get a guy that's either going to start or be the number 2 behind the guy who they're going to draft to be their number 1.
It's ridiculous how little attention they play.
Yeah.
They pay to that.
Yeah.
There's no depth.
Yeah. It's so, and you'd think with the Steelers' history of inside linebackers, that would be their top concern.
It's a 3-4 defense.
Yeah.
It's emphasis. The linebackers are the most important parts.
Yep.
And that's even when they had Shazier and Shazier was healthy.
Yep.
Shazier would get hurt a lot, and then when he got hurt, it's like they had nothing back.
They're in trouble.
Yeah, they're in trouble. So we'll see. You also wrote an article on Ben.
Yes.
Do you think now that Antonio Brown's gone, and we don't even know what the whole offense is going to look like, we'll know better after the draft, but do you think he felt forced to have to throw it to AB a lot and maybe spread it around some more, or just?
I think Randy Fichtner did tell him you need to even out. You need to start seeing the field better. That's something that I noticed immediately.
Okay.
And I don't think, because a lot of people have this take that Ben Roethlisberger targeted Antonio Brown simply to soothe his ego.
Yeah.
That's not what's happened. Antonio Brown gets targeted that much because he's Antonio Brown. Because he's that good. And if you look at over the years, how many times Ben Roethlisberger would be in trouble and he'd, you know what, screw it. Antonio's somewhere in that direction.
So it wasn't that Antonio Brown was demanding the ball; it's that Ben was so familiar with him. It's like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Where's AB?
Even beyond familiar, he knew how many times did Antonio Brown just come down with it. I mean, the catch in the Packers game 2 years ago, where he's getting shoved out of bounds and he gets the last tippy toe of his foot in the grass with like 8 seconds left. I mean, those type of plays he did regularly. Like Hunter Homestead, who's one of our guys at DK Pittsburgh Sports, he wanted to do a top 10 video tribute to the top 10 catches of Antonio, or top 10 plays of Antonio Brown. And he called me and he was like, hey man, I can't do this because there's too many.
There's too many.
Exactly.
You could do a top 50 easy.
Yeah, a top 50, that would be like, okay, now where do we rank all these? What's more important?
Right.
And there's just so many of those. And that's why he got those targets. I mean, think back. Opening game against the Browns, 2017. The Steelers are trying to hold off a late surge. Their defense is messing up. Deshaun Kaiser's on the comeback. The offense has not put up points. They're only up by 3 points. It's 3rd and long. Ben Roethlisberger just steps back. He just launches it into triple coverage.
Yeah.
But what happens?
And he comes down with it.
Comes down with it. And that's what it's not an ego thing. And yes, Antonio Brown has a huge ego. There's no doubting. I'm not saying he doesn't. But Ben Roethlisberger threw to that guy because he produced, not because, if I don't throw it to him, he's going to be upset right now. That wasn't what was in the guy's head. And if it was, then that's when you expect your leader to step up and be like, no, I'm not doing it. Randy Fichtner, when I said immediately with how the targets were starting to be distributed at the early part of the year, Roethlisberger was taking more of the easy throws, more of the, it's James Conner open in the flat, I'm going to get him, we're going to get 6 yards, and now it's 2nd and 4. Same thing with Juju, Vance McDonald, Jesse James, him finding those targets that he may not necessarily think are going to be huge playmakers for him, but he knows they're open now. And that's what he always was bad at. He would always late to find the open guy. He'd scramble drill and then just see if his eyes found. He needs to know where everyone is at all times in the field and when to check down. If he just helped him with that last year, he's going to need to help him out with a lot more now that he doesn't have Antonio Brown.
Well, there was way too much passing last year.
Agreed. And that's another thing they need to fix.
Yeah. And
which is why I think they need to draft a running back.
Exactly. How about, I think T.J. Yeldon is still available. Would he be a good, safe, like someone you occasionally use?
I mean, maybe. I think they need a speed back. Samuels is your H back. Connor's your power back.
Duke Johnson.
I'd rather get one of these guys for super cheap in the draft.
Okay.
There's Darrell Henderson of Memphis. That guy's extremely explosive, quick in open space, catches the ball. Bryce Love is going to be a 6th or 7th round pick. The guy was a Heisman Trophy candidate not too long ago. There's guys that you can spend 5th, 6th, 7th round picks on. Justice Hill from Oklahoma State, the fastest running back out there. Put him out there and let them see how he does. I think Connor needs. He is the Thunder. He needs a lightning to that package.
Yeah.
And if you get 2 running backs now that the defense has to worry about and the different styles that are available, and one that can line up in the slot and be shifty and catch the ball in space.
Ingram and Kamara.
Exactly. That kind of a combo. And Connor's the Ingram. And an Ingram that does better at catching the ball than Ingram. I don't think he's as good as a power back yet, but get them a guy like Kamara, they're golden. And that frees up Ben Roethlisberger from having to target people 10, 15 yards downfield.
And that's what hurts Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Who is it? Lindsey. He wasn't even drafted.
Lindsey. Yeah.
They're out there.
Yep.
You're talking about a 6th, 7th round guy that could just plug in and contribute. So yeah, that's why Le'Veon Bell didn't quote unquote lost that.
I mean, and that's the crazy thing. Bell, I mean, I get his gamble on himself, and I was all for him. Like, hey man, if you feel like that's the right move, go right ahead. Like people are calling him an idiot, people call him a thug, and I'm like, hey guys. If you can say he lost the bet, but he was trying to gamble on himself. And I agreed at the time. I was like, this is not a good move. He should take this money. But at the same time, I'm like, I feel because he felt he had leverage over the Steelers because, as you saw, they missed the playoffs without him.
Yeah.
And I think that he took that into consideration too heavy. And the Steelers were like, you know what, we're just going to move on.
And there's always that thought of wanting to know what you're worth.
Yeah.
If he took that deal with the Steelers, he'd be a Steeler for life.
Yep.
Okay, good. But you would have never known. It's like, well, what would I have
with
done?
Free agency. And that's what everyone talks about. You get paid when you hit the market. That's what so many players. I mean, you and I were joking about Washington off the air and how Albert Haynesworth got $100 million from Washington years ago. Those kind of contracts often get paid. Look at Kirk Cousins. 3 years guaranteed, fully guaranteed by the Vikings. And Kirk Cousins ain't no superstar. He's a decent quarterback.
Yeah.
That's where I think Le'Veon was like, hey, if those guys are getting paid like that, I could get paid even more. I'm going to hold out and get to the market. The problem was when he got there, people were already just kind of played off by like, you know what? We can draft a running back that'll do good enough.
And you know what really hurt him, which actually helped him, was Gurley.
Mm-hmm.
Gurley getting that big deal, I think, really affected what he did last year.
Supposedly that's what changed him wanting to come back at all.
And then Gurley, at the end of the year, getting hurt.
And C.J. Anderson comes in.
Yeah. It's like, well, maybe we don't need to spend so much money on a back.
Yeah.
They also re-signed Eli Rogers. Mm-hmm. I know he's had injury things, but he hasn't really done much like the last year or two. Do you see him just is he just some guy?
No, he's a good slot option. I'll tell you the thing about Eli Rogers. He has an amazing rapport with Ben Roethlisberger. Like in camp, Ben Roethlisberger is almost any time he targets Eli, he is on him. He's like, "Come on, 1-7, let's go, get better." And Eli rises to that challenge. And 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, there was in the Christmas Day Ravens playoff games in like the fourth quarter when they're trying to drive down the field. It's third down. Roethlisberger's scrambling. Who's scrambling with him? Eli Rogers. And he finds him and he makes a great leaping catch over the middle to keep the drive alive. Plays like that Eli Rogers has made happen because he has that connection with Ben Roethlisberger. That's why he got re-signed.
And who won the game
And who
with
won?
a spectacular play?